All right, everybody. I was gonna run through what I did for the treehouse. I've done everything besides put the plywood siding up and put the roof. So let me walk through it real quick and see if this helps any of y'all who might be considering it. All right, so what um, I got some poles from the power company, but I would recommend 6x6 posts. 5x5 would probably work, but that's not a common size. So I would recommend 6x6 if you don't have, like a class 6 round. Um, so I just went with one 2x8 beam. I'd bought actually two. I was going to double it up. I ended up needing the wood for something else, and once I got it up, I figured the single was actually pretty good. So I used 2x6 joist. I used a standard 16-inch spacing on the joist box. Um, I actually cut this board a little short, and then I decided I wanted to extend it because I figured floor space is on a premium. So what you're seeing is a little bit of a on-the-fly adjustment, but it's pretty stable there. Well, it's very stable actually. But so just use one bolt to go through on my offsets on my beam there. Let's see, let's climb up and I'll go through that. So this is just the 5/4 inch deck board. It was green wood, so I really didn't put much of a space in there, just a little bit, because it'll shrink up. I left 3-inch gap. Well, I actually probably left about more of a 4 or 5-inch gap between the joist. You can always cut out more deck board, but the joist you don't want to have to move. A tree like this will probably grow 2 or 3 inches over, in diameter in 20 years. So I figure by then it'll actually probably still be good, but you can make adjustments at that point. All right, so common studs are 2x4 for houses, but you're not supporting a roof and a second story, so even though it's commonplace, it's not necessary on something like a tree house, and it's not cutting corners, but it gives you, it lets you be a little more economical and practical with your wood. But I just ripped all this lumber, and what you can do, what you're going to have to do anyway, I don't care if you use 2x4s, but you're going to have to put bracing, and these 2x2s work excellent for bracing. And I haven't put a single deck screw in any of this. Honestly, they're expensive, and they're not really necessary. What you really need to spend your money on is a good framing nailer and some good ring shank nails. And as long as you put your wood in good places there, it's going to be extremely sturdy. Bad construction with screws is going to be just as bad as bad construction with nails. Good construction with nails is just as good as a good construction with screws, in my opinion, and cheaper and a heck of a lot faster. Good gracious, get a nail gun and you'll see. Up here there's some tricks that I did because I wanted, let's see, I wanted a 6-inch, so 6'6" roof down to a 6-foot roof over, this is about 5 foot worth of depth. So I don't have to worry about snow here. If you're worried about snow, you're gonna have to put more of a pitch on that roof, but we hardly get snow at all actually here in South Carolina, famously hot. But as you'll notice, bracing in the corners on the bottom. I didn't put one down at that bottom, but really you've got all the directions covered here. Again, for the roof, I did 2-foot spacing for the 10. As you can see, I've got 10 down there. But measure your 10, measure it twice, because the end pieces have 2 inches of overhang. So I don't have to run through the numbers, just measure it and it'll make sense. And measure twice, cut once. So let's see, the only thing that's probably not that standard is the studs don't work well with 4-foot or 8-foot plywood, so I'm gonna have to do some custom cuts. But I mean, this thing isn't a true, there's no true 4x8 anywhere on this thing, so I'll just have to make some adjustments, but it'll be fine. I've got it pretty well figured out. Plan ahead, sit down at night with a pencil and paper and draw it out and put your measurements on there, but you're gonna have to adjust. It's not gonna be perfect, whatever you put on paper, but just take your time, make smart decisions, because if you don't, you'll probably regret it by taking shortcuts. And if you're like me, kind of a perfectionist, you'll sit there and notice them all the time. But again, it's a tree house, but you want to do it right and make sure it's sturdy. But let's do the I'll do a little shake test, so you can push it pretty good, and that flexing you see is actually being translated down to the post. The structure with these braces is extremely uniform, so to me it's a must. That if you're gonna save on wood, don't save on wood there. Do your 2x2s, and that gives you a lot of extra leftover wood to make it extremely strong, and I think visually, architecturally pleasing. All right, well, hope you enjoyed that, and maybe I'll make another video when I get it finished. All right, take care.